Greetings, welcome back to my channel. I just wanted to do a follow-up video to my previous video pertaining to the casting of a black actress as Cleopatra. Apparently, the Egyptian authorities are now ramping up their rhetoric, and they are pointedly saying that Cleopatra was not black. Okay, this is all as a result of all of the media coverage that has now cast a spotlight on modern day Egypt. Okay, the modern day Egyptians are alleging that casting a black actress as Cleopatra was effectively erasing the identity of Egyptians. Okay, now we all know that Cleopatra was a part of the Greek dynasty, which was founded by Ptolemy. Ptolemy was the general under Alexander the Great, and apparently Ptolemy had a lineage that extended until the rulership of Cleopatra and Mark Antony. And so I thought it was important for us to understand some of the history prior to the Greek invasion of Egypt. Okay, because prior to the invasion of the Greeks, Africa was still ruled by the native African kings and queens. Okay, but apparently the Persians invaded Egypt, right? And the Persians actually ruled Egypt for several centuries until they were ultimately defeated by the Greeks in 332 BC. Okay, and so apparently under the rulership of Ptolemy, the Greeks ruled Egypt for basically hundreds of years. And it wasn't until 30 BC that the Romans actually defeated the Greeks, or the Macedonians, and they actually ruled Egypt from 30 BC until 639 AD. Okay, and so it wasn't until 639 AD that there was a presence of Arabs on the continent of Africa in Egypt. Okay, and as I said, if you listen to the history of the rulership, Egypt was ruled by foreigners for hundreds of years, right? The native Egyptians had to coexist with invaders for literally centuries, right? And the Arabs didn't actually arrive on the scene until 639 AD. And so what this means is that the Arabs had zero connection to any of the dynasties of Egypt or Africa. Okay, in fact, they didn't even have a presence until their invasion in 639 AD. Okay, and so apparently it was a collective of the Kingdom of Iran. Okay, apparently there was an empire of Iran at that time, and there was a particular movement known as the Rashidun Caliphate, which is basically the Islamic government that proceeded after Prophet Muhammad. Okay, and so this collective of Islamic forces actually invaded and defeated the Romans in 639 AD. Alright, so all of this talk about the identity of the Egyptians is all foolishness. Okay, the identity of the Egyptians has zero to do with the modern day Egyptians. I don't care if they put on the most elaborate paint on their face. I don't care if they go and they pose with any of the statues. They don't have anything to do with that history. They invaded Egypt after a series of invaders, and they actually happened to be the last invaders. And I guess they interpret that to mean that this makes them indigenous. Okay, if you invaded a territory and you lived there for even 1,000 years, that will still not make you native or indigenous, and it's not going to actually connect you to any of the history. And so I just wanted to point this out because it's hogwash, it is foolishness for them to actually assert that they can claim the Egyptian identity. All right, we knew that prior to the Islamic or the Arab invasion of Egypt, there were the Egyptians, actually the Romans. And prior to the Romans, there were Greeks who invaded Egypt. Prior to the Greeks, there were Persians who invaded Egypt. And it was only after you look beyond the Persians that you will find the native Egyptians, who were the black Africans who ruled Egypt, who built the pyramids, who built the temples, who put the inscriptions on the walls. This was their history, okay? And so each of the successive invaders actually tried to write themselves into the story. All right, we heard about Ptolemy actually trying to write himself into the spirituality, and he actually made a figure that was worshipped in a particular temple known as Serapis, all right, which was a combination between Osiris and Apis the bull. All right, so these people are psychopathic racists who actually tried to rule Egypt because they knew of the significance of Egypt in global civilization. And so they all tried to take turns trying to rule Egypt and steal all of the secrets that the Africans actually developed over a number of years. Okay, and so now the most recent invader is also delirious, delusional, and trying to actually claim that they built the pyramids. All right, we know that the Arabs were very skilled with the raising of camels. They were very skilled with making cloth. They were very skilled with living in the deserts. But as far as having any connection to Egypt, there is literally no connection between these people and the Egyptians. But family, let me know your thoughts in the comments below about all these dynamics. One love.